Good. Ready?
Good morning, y'all. Logan here. Sorry to be late.
Good. Mr.
Logan,
Chairman,
you're fine. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, you're ready to start. You do have a quorum.
I'd like to call to order the Spokane County Planning Commission. Today is Thursday, March the 14th. It's 9:06. Sorry for the delay, a little technical difficulties, but bear with us. Individuals, the public may participate in person or remotely utilizing the web and telephone conference links, *6 to speak. Individuals are limited to 1 3-minute comment period during the meeting. Please keep your comments specific to the current agenda item. Chat is not supported. Okay. The first order of business is to introduce ourselves. That's what we normally do. We have a brand new board member. Introduce yourself.
Lonnie Edwards.
Great to have you.
Pete Rayner.
Stephen Pohl. And
Logan Camporiali.
Logan, thank you for joining us this morning. We now have a quorum. The next order of business is matters to address the Planning Commission that are not on this agenda today. This is the period when people can come before the commission and express their comments, and we'd be happy to entertain those now, either online or in the audience. So we'll wait a minute and see if someone wants to talk about something that's not on this agenda.
Paul Kropp has a hand up online.
Let's put him on. Paul?
Good morning, morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, commissioners. Week and a half ago, the planning staff distributed a specific plan for public participation in the 2026 periodic update. I don't know whether Plan Commission members were also given a copy of the draft, but if they were not, I would encourage you to ask staff to do that for you. It's an extensive document. It gives the outline for the complete, it gives a good timeline, a different way to look at how the periodic update will proceed. There are some standards, however, that may need to be looked at, which the prime one is staff seem to be giving themselves only 7 days notice for even major events along the timeline that require or merit public participation. So I made that comment back because it was solicited. I just wanted you to know about that, but also if you haven't had a chance to look at it, it's quite a remarkable and good document. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Paul.
Mr. Chairman, I know we don't normally respond to these, but in this case, Paul brought up a very specific thing. If in fact the notice is not clear in there, it is our intent, because of the amended public participation program that you were part of in 2022, any document that is in its finished form that is proposed to come before you for action will be posted on our web no fewer than 21 days ahead of that action. The 7-day window is for documents that are in progress, just because they're works in progress. But if, as Paul said, if he found a discrepancy in that, we will clear that one up immediately. We intend to hold ourselves to that 21-day standard for finished work that's coming before you.
Thank you.
Looks like Melissa just joined us. Can she please confirm herself?
Melissa, is that you? Okay. We will presume so. Nonetheless, we do have a quorum to start.
She'll be able to join us when the technology catches up
My
with
apologies.
us. Oh. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning.
You haven't missed anything.
It's beautiful.
You haven't missed anything.
Okay.
The next order of business, we have public hearings today. That's why everyone's here.
Yes.
Hearings on the 2024 Comprehensive Plan Amendments and Initiation Request. So the way this will work is we'll let the staff make a brief presentation of the subject matter. And then the maker of the petitioner, I suppose, of these will have an opportunity to speak. And we'll have public testimony.
Yes.
So we'll close public testimony and then we'll vote, not at that time, but at the
No,
end of
at the end, correct.
end of the session.
That's correct. We will go through each public hearing individually and then
Yes.
hold separate votes at the conclusion of that.
Okay, we're great. So first up is CPA-02-24. Mr. Chesney.
Commissioners, members of the public, welcome. The first one, and we will be brief, as the commissioners certainly know, you've had two other times to get the emerging details on these amendments, so we're not going to go through them in great detail. However, the detailed staff report that accompanies our presentation is on the web and is available for research both today and in the future. And for everyone's reference, today's action is only an action to initiate the plan or initiate the amendments recommendation to the board to do so. It is not a judgment on the value of those comprehensive plan amendments or whether you approve or disapprove of them at this point. It is simply staff saying they do or do not meet the basic criteria to qualify for study as an amendment. If you send them to the commissioners and they agree, they will refer them back to planning staff, and then we will go through extensive analysis with the applicant and bring you recommendations later on in the fall, probably around Labor Day. So again, today's action is simply to, it's like the starting gun. It's to move the process forward. But until the board initiates these, even the applicants are only submitting sketchy information. They don't submit that full packet until the board agrees to push it forward. And that's chiefly because it's very complicated work and it's expensive to do. And if the board or you were to choose not to initiate one of them, there's no point in having that work wasted. So we give them that two-part approach. That said, we'll see if we can move forward here. There we go. The Growth Management Act allows for the board or the county to adopt package amendments once a year. They have to be considered in as a package. And at the end, the reason we do the voting at the end is you should consider them and their cumulative impact as a whole on the comprehensive plan and our capital facilities program. There are 4 new amendments before you and 2 that have carried over from the past. And like I said before, this is an initiation hearing. This is not a hearing on the approval of the documents. These are the plan amendments that are before you. They're scattered in areas that are somewhat consistent over the last few years in our North Metro urban growth area, as well as the West Plains, and then a new one in Spangle. These are the ones that are listed. Little under an acre at Wall and Country Homes Road, from low density residential to high density. The Hastings Farwell corridor, again, low density to higher density residential. The Mead area, this is moving from a light industrial classification to medium density residential. And then the Spangle project, a little over 11 acres, which is moving from rural traditional into a regional commercial. And we'll talk about all these in a little bit of detail as we go forward. And then the 2 that were continued from the past, CPA 02 from 22 is on the West Plains. That has changed from the original 108 acre mixed use project to now to a mixed use area. And then North Mill Road, CPA 1223 from last year, a residential density increase from low density to medium density. These are the criteria that each project must meet at least one of these to move forward. And you will see in the staff report, staff's findings on the information we have now. We don't necessarily have conclusive information, but what we're able to say is it is likely to satisfy one or more of these. And we'll go through each of those as we talk about them this morning. So on to the first one. 0224 is, like I said, a little less than 1 acre, the North Metro, Wall and Country Homes Boulevard. You can see the providers here. As you recall, there was an amendment last year on the southwest quadrant of that intersection to move the church property into a high-density residential area. So it's an emerging or sort of an evolving area. The impact that we would see is roughly here from a low density of possible 4 units up to about 20, and a population increase to as many as roughly 20 people. And these, of course, are estimates based on densities that go happen. This amendment will likely satisfy zoning code number 1, which is consistent or implements the comprehensive plan and is not detrimental to the public welfare. And 2, change in economic, technological, or land use conditions has occurred to warrant modification. Again, those are essentially hypotheses that it looks like it would be, those would be the things we would be studying going forward. We received a number of comments on this from the public. And by the way, the agency comments are in your detailed staff report. And those are based on the preview as well. The comments from the public related to traffic, emergency access, safety, surrounding property values, wetland and stormwater issues. Those are all things that will be studied in detail if the project is initiated, and we will be able to have comments and answers for all of those comments as we move forward. Mr. Chair, that's all I have for, well, I guess we got one more, just to context. To get started, this is the context map. You can see in the center of the circles is where the project is. We do this at 1/4 mile, 1/2 mile, and 1 mile radius, so you can see proximity to shopping, to parks, to jobs, and things like that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I suggest you can open the public hearing on CPA 02.
So we'll be opening the public hearing process for CPA 02 2024. The first person I want to hear from is Dwight Hume. Is Dwight here?
Are we timing?
You're the maker, you're the represent the ownership.
Yeah.
Right?
Pardon?
So let's give him an ample amount of time to explain.
Oh, I'm not here on behalf of the applicant.
Oh, you're not?
No.
Okay. Well, then you're subject to the 3-minute rule. Now,
Okay.
let me ask you about the 3-minute. Ella, are you going to do the timing? I have my Apple. Okay. Oh, you're good. Oh, great. Thank you. 3 minutes. Thank you. Dwight, nevertheless, please continue.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The concern I have in looking at, what's that? Please introduce myself. I'm Dwight Hume, and I'm a land use consultant. I reside in this particular neighborhood, so I'm intimately familiar with it, but I have purposely tried to stand back and let the neighbors voice their concerns. But that said, when I looked at the staff report as it is right now, it just, it's a checklist. Is there a comp plan policy that this might support? Is it within shopping? Is it within a similar area of zoning? Is it near recreation areas? And more importantly, does it front on an arterial? The answer to that is a check on the checkbox. It meets all those requirements technically. Practically speaking, it doesn't. The arterial at that particular frontage and parcel is blocked by a median strip from the intersection at Country Homes and Wall, and doesn't free up traffic to turn until it gets to Price. That would be the corner of the parcel. So the frontage on Wall is right in, right out. The proponent actually applied for a short plat last year upon purchase of the property and attempted to maximize the provisions of the low-density residential zone. He was told by the county that he couldn't have access to that arterial. And furthermore, he had restrictions for other reasons. It's only 0.82 acres, and it, as you will hear today, it adjoins other floodplains, etc. So they were told you can't have maximum utilization of your LDR zone. So now he's applying for high density residential, which makes no sense, because I think what policy 2.16 is saying about multifamily is the use of the arterial. And think in your mind's eye, you've got Freya, Hastings out north. You've got more applications every year on that, including this year. You've got a middle median strip for turning. You've got, you don't have a corner street on those approvals that enables traffic and renters to travel through neighborhoods to get there and avoid the congestion of the arterial. So if this were acceptable and ultimately approved, you can't say no to any high density residential along Wall Street or along Monroe. But pay attention to the issues. I'm out of time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dwight. Is there someone here that represents this property who made this application? Is there a representative here? Out of respect for the process, we normally let those persons, give their overview, and then we'll hear the public testimony.
Let's see.
Online? Anybody have their hand up? Seeing none, let's move on. I noticed these are in alphabetical order, but I'm going to use reverse protocol this morning. And ask Mr. Brent Wagner to come forward. You thought you were going to be at the end, but you're not. You're going to have to be first.
Probably the most nervous person here to talk.
Don't be nervous.
Okay.
Don't be nervous. Name and your address, and thank you for being here and being part of the process.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, 3 minutes. Brent Wagner, 8518 North Jefferson Drive. I live about 150 feet from the subject parcel. The Country Homes Channel runs through the middle of my backyard. Over the last 50 plus years, I've seen firsthand the transformation of the channel to the stream that it is today. I'm concerned with the accuracy and the validity of the critical area report that was prepared by Brian Walker for this property. The report states that no natural wetlands or streams were found on or near the property. In reality, the wetland areas on and immediately adjacent to this parcel are fed by a naturally occurring live stream. The channel has had water flowing through it continuously 365 days a year since about 1999. Mr. Walker states in the report, while these stormwater facilities may look and function like natural wetlands, these areas are artificial in nature. And that just simply is not true. It's a naturally occurring stream and wetland that has been created by nature and is fed by local springs. Question here, the stream and wetlands are not found on the National Wetland Inventory Map and the Washington Department of Natural Resources Stream Map. And I have to ask, why not? When the county identified this property as a wetland area back in 2008 when they did the Price and Wall infiltration facility. Wildlife has been observed in the area, including deer, ducks, egrets, and blue herons, which are identified as a priority species by WDFW, Priority species require protective measures for their survival due to their population status and sensitivity to habitat alteration. Unfortunately, the land was completely stripped of all vegetation last December, as well as the dirt leveled, and seems to have been pushed into the floodplain area. It is 0.82 acres, but if you take the floodplain out of it, it's 0.6, 0.65 at best, as far as size of usable size. That's not in a floodplain. In closing, Spokane County has a unique and rare ecosystem right in the middle of an established urban area. According to the Spokane County Critical Area Ordinance, this property seems to qualify on multiple levels and deserves the protection as such. It's a natural stream, a stormwater filtration system, as well as a natural wetland habitat that is an integral part of the local and migrating ecosystem. With so many environmental benefits being concentrated in such a small space, Spokane County should consider the detriment that would likely come from any development in this location. The proven current and future long-term benefits of the habitat and the natural drainage channel and stormwater infiltration facility should be permanently protected. Wow. Almost like I practiced that. I have pictures that I want to show you, and just real 10 seconds. This is 2006. It shows before the stormwater facility was put in, it shows the existing stream and wetland that was there in 2006. 2013, another picture of the same thing. And just other pictures of, because I live literally 150 feet away.
Was this submitted in our packet, those pictures? If
No,
not,
I'm
we'd like-
turning them in today.
If not, we'd like to circulate this if you could.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was planning on turning this in. Is
Can we
that right now?
Can we
or
have
no?
those? Can we have-
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I also have that, because I didn't submit anything online, but there is letter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
I guess, can I ask just one question? Does
course.
this critical area report, it was done for the short plat last year for what he was denied or because of traffic, does it still apply to the property?
It will. In the analysis, if this is initiated, the analysis going forward, we'll look at that.
Okay. I would love to talk to someone more about that because this is flawed. It's full of misinformation. Doesn't even, it honestly, it's laughable. The information that's in here.
Thank you, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you.
Scott, if you'll circulate those, yeah.
We'll do that.
See those. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we move to the next speaker, let's do that.
Okay.
Hang on. Sorry. Okay, we ready? Next, let's hear from Mr. Ron Wright, please. Welcome, sir. Name and address.
Ron
Thank you
Wright.
for coming.
Yep, thank you. I live on 8511 North Mountain View Lane. We bought our house in 2018. It's a great little neighborhood, but like others have mentioned, that intersection is horrible. It's almost a one-lane road in the winter. The county does not plow it. I actually plow the road because the county does not come out and plow it. This last winter, people coming off of Wall, turning right onto Price would get stuck in the intersection because the plows would basically plow up a big berm. And that's right where the lot is. And so you put a apartment, duplexes, whatever is going to be going in there, and it's going to really jam up that intersection. And in our neighborhood, there's pretty much two ways in and out, one on Price and Wall, and then the other one off of Country Homes. And it's bottlenecked as it is now. You can't really turn left during high traffic times. It's as others have said, it's right in, right out. And then obviously the property kind of encompasses that that wetland area. So I feel anything going in there is going to be detrimental to that and our neighborhood. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
By the way, anyone on the commission, if you have comments, just feel free to make your thoughts known. I'm not being rude. I'm looking at my laptop and I need to look at the site plan when everyone speaks. So just to make sure that I'm focusing on the right issue here. No comments? Anybody online? Any hands raised? No. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wright. Next, let's hear from Russ McInerney. Did I say that right? Yes. McInerney? Okay, thank you. And I'd like to particularly thank you if comment, that's just as a general rule from everyone who's here. If the issue with each one of these amendments is totally vetted and explained, there's no need to come before us and recite that same issue, if that's okay, in the interest of time. Well, you know, the thoughts are registered and we understand. Thank you, Mr. McInerney. We will put that over here. Next is Jesse Stevens. Did I say that right? It's not Jess, but Jesse. Jesse. Okay, great. Thanks. Thanks for coming down.
Yeah, thank you for listening to us. I appreciate that.
It's what we do.
Okay, so watching the time, it's making me a little nervous here. Okay, Jesse Stevens. I live at 8807 North Mountain View Lane.
Thank you.
And I live directly across the street from the walking path park, wildlife, storm drainage area. And I love the city I live in. I love the county. Thoughtful, planned growth is needed, and rezoning where it makes sense is beautiful. And I love it. So I just want to say I'm pro that. But where we live, our neighborhood is very, very unique. So I'm just going to speak to that a little bit. So thank you so much for hearing me today. My neighbor community and I are so concerned about a property being considered for rezoning from low density to high density. The property in question is also directly across the street from this walking trail and wildlife habitat area like I am. And this natural water has existed where it is since my home was built over 100 years ago, and I've been in my home for 20 years now. And it attracts because it's just so unique and so beautiful, right against 5 Mile Prairie. A lot of pedestrian traffic, a lot of kids on bikes, a lot of families with strollers. The cross-country teams from St. Thomas More and Whitworth University run there. And I just love that people look so happy and joyful. And my biggest concern as a kindergarten teacher is safety of families and children. So when I look at where this property in question is located, it goes right out to that intersection that is so busy. Its only access really is going to be on Price, and Price is narrow, it's old, it's kind of primitive. And when I'm driving in or out, if there's any school bus or garbage truck or delivery truck, we have to eye contact, hand motion, negotiate who's willing to pull over a little bit. And I just cannot imagine having high density going onto that little road there. And my neighbors and other people that know me that have seen where that rezoning is being requested, they honestly say, are you kidding me? They're really considering that there? Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, do they look, you know, so that growth where it makes sense is needed. It's beautiful when it looks like really thought out, but it really doesn't belong there. And I just feel like I'm supporting my neighbor community in this real common thought that we all have. So the animals that live over there, I love seeing them. And I have a property where from 5 Mile Prairie, everything kind of comes down and into it and back up. And I watched the water grow and grow because of the construction on 5 Mile Prairie behind us, where it makes sense and where it's really, really good, but it causes more water to come down. And so that water area is growing. So thank you so much for hearing me today.
Thanks for coming down.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. Next, oh, anybody on, no, still no more? We always need to check and make sure if somebody hasn't raised their hand.
Nobody has their hand raised.
Okay. Aaron Nilsson would be our next person.
So I also just, in an effort of saving time, I support what my neighbors have said. I don't really have anything new to add. But I need to sort it out.
Nevertheless, thank you for coming down. Appreciate that. So noted for the record.
Mr. Chair,
Yes?
those of you that deferred comments, if you prepare something in writing and it's not otherwise submitted it to the web, leave it with us when you leave and we'll make sure it goes into the record. I have submitted on them.
Brittany Bannon. Name and address.
All right. Deal. My name's Brittany Bannon. I live at 8321 North Jefferson Drive. So I'm actually on the other end of my Mountain View neighbors. I'm on that Carolina kind of intersection. And so I'm kind of reiterating the traffic issue, but my main concern, apart from my 3-year-old daughter, she's now able to ride her bike in our street and, you know, have free reign. And I'm a little concerned about pretty much whenever there's anything going on construction wise on country homes, the congestion creates kind of a congestion in traffic on our street on that Carolina intersection, because it's really one of the only throughways. And so anything really that occurs along, that route is going to have an impact. And so, it's going to, the impacts of a high density residential building are obviously going to extend far beyond the 400-yard limit of the property. And so I just wanted to reiterate that. Thank you.
Thank you. Here again, commissioners, if there's anyone that has comments for each individual speaker, now would be the time, or afterwards, but okay. Anybody online? I keep wanting to check back. Sorry to put you through it, Ella, but I don't want anybody to be left out. Okay. Meredith Banka would be next. Good morning.
Thanks for making it possible for all of us. We really appreciate it. My name is Meredith Banka and I live at 9005 North Mountain View Lane.
Gotcha.
And gosh, I'm a little energetic about this morning, but
Be nervous. It's okay. That's right. We're all friends here. It's okay.
I think it's just that we're passionate about our neighborhood, So my neighbors have addressed some of the issues, but I want to dive a little bit deeper on a couple of them. So first of all, when it comes to the arterial access, one of the other things that we need to recognize about Price is that it has no sidewalks and no off-street parking. I submitted a letter yesterday that hopefully you guys have a copy of that shows pictures of that. So just also keep in mind when you're making this consideration, there is no room to park. So if any kind of density goes into this 0.82 acre space, they're obviously going to need to create parking. There isn't room on the street to park, period. There just isn't. Secondly, the stormwater facility actually has a small parking lot with 4 spaces in it. And obviously somebody that's going to live there is going to have guests. So they're probably going to overflow into that, which would remove parking for the community at large that we see coming into the area to use the walking parks. So we really need to make that a consideration. We've talked about zoning a little bit, but I think that the HDR map is a little bit kind of misconstrued in a sense, because HDR's definition in Spokane County is quite broad. It includes office space, it includes the senior living that's going in. So if you just look at that map of the brown area, it can kind of make it look like this is what's happening everywhere at this intersection. But in reality, there is no high density residential in that intersection area at all. So I think that's important to note. We've already heard about the inconclusive wetlands report. I agree that I think that that's very important. This is an environmentally sensitive area. There's signage posted by the county that says environmentally sensitive wetland area. surrounding this property. And the map in the wetland area actually shows the area across the street that is owned by the county and that goes onto this property as a part of that sensitive wetland area. So the county has already, in a sense, communicated to the community that this is a sensitive area. So it's questionable how we can allow development there in that case. The county has already agreed to that. We've heard about public safety and emergency access. I'll just add further to what Brittany said about the traffic. Mountain View Lane is a single lane road with blind corners that fire trucks can already barely make it up. We have a diverse population in our neighborhood, elderly people as well as the young, who need access to those emergency services. And we certainly can't allow for development in an area where it's already very limited access. Traffic patterns are just problematic. Let's make sure that that's noted. And I guess closing out, I think I might be the last person that addresses this, if I am the last person to speak for our neighborhood. But we're very committed to this, making sure that our neighborhood is developed appropriately. And I personally plan to continue to persist and pursue, because I absolutely believe that this is not the proper area for development in our community, and that this application should absolutely be declined. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you are in fact the last person that filled out this, unless there's someone online.
I just said one thing to add. I submitted over 100 signatures from the neighborhood opposing the change. 14 of those signatures are from Meade School District bus personnel. They use Price Road and the Country Homes and Wall intersection that oppose that, saying, you know, because they come down Price, everyone said it's so skinny. It would be horrible. And I just wanted to say that's what I submitted as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, recognize that some of our audience don't fully know or understand the process we're going forward. I want to reiterate, today's action is simply to say, push this forward for more study or not. All of the things that have been mentioned here, those that have been submitted in writing, are things that would be studied and would have an impact on the project. So for example, if there's wetland mitigation to be done, that might be a condition of approval of a project. The SEPA analysis would be looking at that. The traffic impact analysis might come back and say, these facilities can't be supported by this proposed development without constructing of another lane or constructing of traffic improvements, which may in fact close down the project. So I want to assure the audience that what's being brought forward is not just a comment, but is really helpful, because it sets the study parameters for what we do if we go forward to look at this. We would look at every one of those conditions and bring that conclusion back to you later in the fall.
This is just a sidebar comment, but can you explain, the gentleman that talked about the wetlands?
Yes.
And in my purview, there's jurisdictional wetlands, and then there's things that appear wet. But can you explain, it says here, no wetlands in the report. I mean, is there an opinion here one way or the other?
At this point, we have no opinion of this, because what we are reacting to is what was submitted to us from the applicant themselves. The fact that they were applying for a building permit elsewhere at the county earlier on, that information was not included in our packet, and you can be sure we will be going back and looking at that, including the wetland study that was part of it.
Thank you. That was the last speaker, unless someone has raised their hand again. Just have a hand in, what's the right-hand corner? What is? Okay, I can't see other. You were going to put a TV down here, Scott, but you didn't do that. All right. Comments from the commission? While we have everyone here ask questions.
And you will have a chance to deliberate again at the end of the presentations.
Well, it's fresh on their mind. I thought maybe it was an appropriate way. Logan and Melissa, we don't want to ignore you. So if you have comments, now would be good, or we could wait until the end.
Yeah, no comments from me, just listening to public comment, and appreciate the public being here and sharing their feedback.
Thank you so much, Logan. Appreciate you being here. Melissa, anything from your perspective? Guess not. Okay. You have a comment?
Yes.
Lonnie, go ahead. Now it's time. Put your mic on, yeah.
To the neighbors, I just want to know, is there already a single family dwelling on that property? I'm just trying to get caught up to speed here. That's what I'm seeing here. Okay.
And it does show the house in the garage.
That's back over the line.
It has an overlay of the property line and the amount of the 0.82 that's actually part of the wetland. One thing I didn't mention is that at the end of Jefferson, there's 22 lots that are platted, sewered, watered, just waiting for the building. Right now, there's over 80 houses that have those two roads as access, Carolina and Price. So only two access roads for the 80 houses that are existing. Within a few years, there's going to be over 100 houses that will use Price and Carolina to get in and out of the neighborhood.
Thank you.
Got it. Thank you.
Seeing no more comments, Chair will entertain a motion we'll close public testimony on this particular matter. Do we hear a motion to close public testimony on 02?
So moved.
From Logan? Okay, second. Someone would like this second close public testimony.
So moved.
So moved by Pete Rayner. All those in favor of closing public testimony on CPA 02-24 signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed by saying nay. Melissa, are you online?
Mr. Chairman.
Is that may be?
You are able to open or close public testimony on your own if there is no objection.
Well, that's why I'm waiting for Melissa. I mean, Melissa? Are you in agreement to close public testimony on 02-24? Is she muted, unmuted? She shouldn't.
She has health issues right now going on, personal health issues going on, so she might be
Okay,
in and out.
all right.
You still have a quorum.
So ordered. It's public testimony is closed. For CPA 02-24. Next, CPA 03-24. Scott Chesney, please.
I apologize if I might interrupt for just a moment. I just didn't know if you wanted to take the vote after each one so that folks maybe could leave and it would also keep the record clear.
Oh, we're just closing public testimony. Melissa, we're not doing a vote. Go ahead.
At one point, we had intended to go through the public hearings and then take the votes more or less as a 1, 2, 3, 4 at the end. But yes, in favor of the audience, we could go ahead and vote at the end of each of these so that people don't have to stick around.
Oh, would you like to do that? Okay, that'd be fine with me. So we've already closed public, so we can just go ahead and discuss.
Exactly.
The matter before us,
Questions?
02-20, CPA 02-24. Commissioners, now would be the time for public comment. Remember, this is an advisory vote to put it in motion for further studies and clarifications and so on and so forth, as Scott had just mentioned previously, correct?
Correct. The motion would be something along the lines of the Planning Commission moves to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners initiate the following amendment, CPA 02-24.
I'll go ahead and make that motion there as Scott stated it. And I'll just go ahead and say why I support moving forward. While I understand there's some public concerns about, the public has some concerns about some elements of the proposal. They all seem like concerns that we need to have additional research and study to understand more clearly. And that's the point of the initiation process, to get more of that study done. And so I support moving forward with initiation.
Thank you, Logan. Do we have a second?
Second.
By Pete Rayner. All those in favor of,
Could we have further comment?
pardon me?
Can we comment on the motion?
Yeah, go ahead.
this procedure bothers me a little bit. I'm not sure how it's going to affect my vote, but this project without the applicant here to defend it sounds to me like it's DOA. But the process of the procedure that we're going through, where it's just, do we move it forward, creates a real challenge to me. I'm just how I'm going to vote on it, because is there some reason we don't know about that no one heard? And that bothers me. That's all I can say.
Thank you. Other comments on the motion?
Yeah,
Pete, could you elaborate a little bit more about your concerns? I didn't fully understand, and I want to understand your concern about the process.
he asked you a question.
I'm fine.
Lonnie?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Pete here. I don't see the owner, the builder or whatnot here to see why this is going on, because there's a lot of extra money that goes into so much time being spent on that, so I don't know how it'll make me vote, but I kind of agree with being DOA.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission? Are we ready for the vote? The advisory vote is perfectly stated by Scott Chesney and adopted by Logan Campereal. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Signify by saying aye, you have to vote.
I'll vote.
You- Aye, okay.
I vote nay on it.
You vote nay.
I think it's too busy of an intersection.
Keep in mind, this is just an advisory vote. We're not
There's-
approving
I know that.
the project, but so you vote nay, okay?
Mhm.
And you vote
Nay.
nay. So we have 2 nay votes. And
Three.
and Melissa, you voted how? Nay, but she
No.
voted
She voted-
aye. And Logan voted aye, right?
Let's start from, let's do a roll call, make it clear.
Okay. Well, let's start with Logan. He's in the upper left-hand corner of my
Yep.
screen here.
That
Logan,
works.
how do you vote?
Aye.
Melissa, how do you vote?
Nay.
Nay. Lonnie, how do you vote?
Nay.
Nay.
The chair typically doesn't vote. I will vote aye. But the total would be failed.
Right.
Yeah. So this will not be sent on
No, it will go forward, but it will go forward with a negative
With a negative
recommendation. from the Planning
recommendation.
Commission.
Okay. Now
Now we can go on.
we've learned our
Yeah.
we've learned our civic lesson today.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. All right. Next is CPA 03-24.
Mr. Chairman, let me ask, for point of personal privilege, do you have a lot of comment cards for this one or number 5? We didn't have any.
One.
Okay,
03-24. Yeah, just one.
okay. I wonder if it might be useful to go out of order and go to 12-23, where we know we've got a lot of people that want to participate.
We do. They're the most. Without objection, let's change the order and go to CPA 12-23. I'd like to hear from you. We'll open public testimony after that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is one that was continued from last year. The Planning Commission recommended its not only initiation, but recommended its approval at the end of the process. The Board of County Commissioners chose to continue it for further study based on comments from the neighborhood that they, among others, didn't feel they had sufficient time to participate and providing their comments to the board or the commission. So it is back in, the project has not changed. We are looking at it as exactly the same thing. Thank you. That's right there. Thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't looking at the screen. Here it is. This is on Northville Road. Again, you did see this last year. As noted in the 2023 findings, It generally meets the two of the 6 criteria for zoning. Number 1, which is consistent or implements the comprehensive plan, and 2, changes in economic, technical, or land use conditions has changed to warrant modification. Those were the 2 benchmarks recommended last year. Again, no new analysis has been done at this time. This is simply a restatement of moving the project forward. The general metrics of this would increase density by as much as 30 units and residential population by about 36. Is in an area surrounded by single-family properties. And you can see from the proximity map, has fairly typical urban access to shopping, amenities, and other services. There are extensive comments received from our office. Those were provided to you last night in the most recent versions. They will be posted up on our web today. And there was still some concern about lack of notice, although this was noticed 15 days ahead of today's hearing. We have the affidavit of that. But the concerns are consistent with what we held or what we heard last year. Concern about neighborhood character changing, concern about traffic, the potential density of the residential use in there, stormwater and other aesthetic issues being of concern. So with that, again, this is not changed from last year, but we are encouraging the commission to open a public hearing on this and take testimony from those that have made the effort to come down and talk to us.
Thank you, Mr. Chesney. Chair will open public testimony. Do we have an applicant here that would like to speak on their own behalf? Either online or in the audience?
Thank you. Ben Goodmanson, Whipple Consulting Engineers, 21 South Pines Road. Here we are again. I thought we had a really good hearing last October. We went through this and we went through a lot of the comments that the public had brought forward, and we were able to address most of those. But right now we're just looking at theoretical to change the comprehensive plan to be able to have the opportunity to develop this property to its highest and best use per urban growth boundary. While we got continued into this year, it's not exactly clear as to what additional analysis we're looking for. So we'll be looking for staff to give us more direction on that. With me today is the owner of the property, and he wanted to speak a little bit more about the process and what he's trying to accomplish. Last year, I talked a little bit about the short plats that we have tried to do on the properties, only to find that with the topography, it made it more difficult to do the short plats under the existing zoning. And he's going to share a little bit about that. We talked a little bit about the traffic. We're on a high density, we're on an arterial roadway. We talked a little bit about the density. Stormwater, we're still required by the SRSM to treat everything on site and dispose of it on site. The soils indicate that shouldn't be a problem. Aesthetics, it's a treed lot now. Or there's one existing house with an outbuilding and trees on it. We anticipate with the construction that those trees would be removed. That was a concern for wildlife that uses that back corridor for deer, as was stated in the hearing before. We discussed that at that time. We also discussed about wildlife within the urban growth boundary and trying to preserve them and move them down to Little Spokane River and keep them there so they're not interacting with cars and people. With that, I'd like to introduce the owner.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, friends. I wish I'd met you well, I've met a few of you, I suppose, but I actually, I'm
Name
sorry.
and address, please.
Oh, Tom Wilkes. I represent Gallatin 20. I am the developer. I have an office at 9708 North Nevada. I guess I was surprised last year because we went through the process and my friends next door or across the street or in the neighborhood didn't have enough time. And so I'm glad to give them enough time now to address those things. We've addressed everything that meets criteria to have a median density property there. And you know, I first started as a duplex project, and I did go to the neighbors and say, hey, we're going to do duplexes here. And the best way for us to do that was somehow blocked at the county level. I had acquired 2 properties over about a year and a half or 2 years. And so the best way to accomplish, you know, have a little bit more use of the property or be able to make that property flow very well was to go to a medium density and get the highest and best use. So when I did the duplex scenario and I set out that plat, a lot of our friends next door would like to see, as we see up the street, very nice, beautiful duplexes with grass all around. And when I tried to do a duplex plat, it's very difficult with that topography to not cover everything and not have grass and big grassy park areas like they have up the road. I can't build a duplex that somebody will rent as nice as those in today's market. In fact, it's difficult to make a duplex even work. So anyway, I have tried to adapt to what has happened at the county level. And so we have moved to medium density. And when we met with you folks here last year, we didn't have any of the friends here for public comments. So it'll be good to have that this time. But the comments that I had from the board, it was unanimously approved by your body here on both occasions. And one of the comments that I heard from one of the plan commissioners was this: of all the projects we're approving here today, this is a 10 of 10. This is exactly what we want. And he was very impressed with it. And of course, some of the comments were, gee, I'd like to live there. Look at, you're right by the Children of the Sun. You're right by the Waikiki walking trails. You're real close to the Spokane River, the canoe park. So this is a great place for people to live. And so as a medium density, friends, I don't know where we're going with this. I don't know. One neighbor suggested we could do 55 and older. Certainly that's on the table. Right now it's a changing market. We're trying to figure it out, but it could be townhouses. It could be 55 and older. And I think the one that concerns the neighbors the most is that it would be perhaps an apartment. And that's certainly on the table. But I don't want to cut everybody short and make it miserable for them because we're there. I would much rather help our neighbors and, you know, especially the ones on both sides. So anyways, that's really all I got to say. Do you have anything else, Ben, that we should add?
I did, Ben Goodmanson for the record. One thing about the short plat that was kind of unobtainable, Tom couldn't really speak to it. It was the requirement for a public road and cul-de-sac that would extend in from Mill Road, extend into the property and make that cul-de-sac. And because it would go in and make that cul-de-sac, it took up a lot of room for the lots themselves and trying to adjust. And then with the topography, that was the difficulty with the topography. Under medium density residential, we're allowed more flexibility to be able to meet the fire code and be able to meet turnaround without the private road requirement, but going with a with our access, whether it's an apartment, we can come in, we can use a hammerhead instead of a cul-de-sac and utilize the land more efficiently. And if you have any questions, then I request that we be allowed to move forward and address any concerns.
Questions from the commission for the applicant? Online, anybody online who wants to ask the applicant a question? But let's proceed with the public testimony part.
Thank you for your time.
Public hearing. Thank you very much. Ray Mockel. 1223. Ray, can you come forward, please? Who should go first?
Pat Clark.
Pat, come up, please. No problem.
I'm Pat Clark. I was sentenced to 2 years as president of the Homeowners Association, Arrowhead Point. And so, thank you, Ray. I live at 402 West Center Street in Arrowhead Point, that's Spokane 99208. And I represent 138 single-family homes. We are really concerned about the process. The Spokane County Growth Management Act states that a cornerstone is citizen participation and citizen involvement, which we are involved in. But the GMA further states that the county must establish early and continuous participation. And it doesn't feel to us that coming to a hearing and giving a testimony for a short period of time is participation. The owner, this is the first time that we've had any interaction with him at all. And a part of the process for us would be to meet with people and discuss the development. We are not against the development at all. Our participation at the last meeting just doesn't feel to us that we were involved continuously through the participation. And our request to the board is to postpone this rezoning decision until we can have that kind of interaction. I would say to the developer and to Whipple, if you want to help your neighbors, come and meet with us. We would be glad to participate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Ray, would you like to come forward now? Thank you.
First time doing one of these things.
Don't be nervous.
Okay. Ray Mockel, 13420 North Kalispell Court.
Thank you.
I'm right across, our house is right across the street from this development. We bought our house 34 years ago. We built it from the ground up, done all the landscaping ourselves. We love our house. We've got a big, almost a half-acre lot right there. But we bought it so that our kids, could grow up and have a great place to live. And, ours was the first house that was in that development that was along Mill Road. And Mill Road at that time was a two-way little, it wasn't a very big street at the time. It had dirt roads that people walked on. And we've seen that kind of take off in the years, plus it's become a major arterial, all the way down. And it's a busy street. It really is. And there's a lot of noise on that street. And, they made major improvements on it. They put in sidewalks and sewer systems and stuff like that. They've updated all of those. But I just want to say that since we've been there, it's a nice rural area. We love it because that's the feel of it. And those parcels have been that way for for a lot of years, and it's like being out in a rural area. And I just, this is kind of a personal thing for me. And to have to look across there and see any apartments, I can't fathom that any apartments would go in that area. You know, it's acreage over there. There's been houses over there on those acres for 34 years since we've been there. So the proposal to go from low to medium for these parcels should not be approved. The main purpose of the urban land use is to preserve and protect the neighborhood character. Currently, there are single resident homes to the west and to the east of these parcels. The proposed parcels have houses with acreage that are there now. There are some duplexes in this area, and duplexes, you know, it's the builder was saying that they did have duplexes going in there, and that plot was fine. I mean, looking at that, it was great. But as far as apartments, I just can't see that. Low density design standards would ensure neighborhood character and compatibility with adjacent uses. And this is stated in UL 2.6. Medium density used like apartments would not fit with surrounding residential areas. Urban character and design goals are to maintain and enhance the quality of life in Spokane County. Going to medium density would increase nuisances such as noise and glare on adjacent neighborhoods and take away our quality of life. This is stated in UL 2.1. Developers, and Pat said this, developers should work with us to develop plans to address neighborhood concerns like quality of life, property values, and preserve open space. This is listed in UL 2.8.
Well, your time has expired, but we'll let you,
Okay,
you can
I'm
do it
almost-
quickly. Yeah, thank you.
So in conclusion, please develop with specific standards that reflect and preserve community standards. Keep parcels as low density. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Muckle? Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's check and see if anyone has their hand raised just every once in a while. We'll do it at the end too, but here. Okay. Joseph Manley.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Manley and I live at 13210 North White House Street. I have a bachelor's degree in urban planning, a master's in public administration, and postgraduate work in public health. I also have 40 years of government management experience at the state and federal level, and I retired as the director of the Spokane VA Medical Center. In reviewing the proposed changes to zoning for 12-23, I have two areas of concern: sewage and parking. I understand that both of these will be considered later in the planning process, but want to go on record today that both issues have unique safety and health impacts on the area surrounding this parcel and should be given extra consideration in the rezoning request. My written submission details the unique history and problems associated with the Arrowhead Point sewage network, so I won't waste your time by reading the contents of my submission back to you. The takeaway in today's meeting is that all the sewage problems could be easily mitigated by the petitioner by directly accessing the county interceptor lines instead of the existing single-family connection that would tax the Arrowhead Point community wastewater network. The parking issues can also be easily mitigated by only if the applicant strictly adheres to the Spokane planning criteria. 12-23 sits on a busy arterial of North Mill Road. There's no parking on North Mill Road, and there are no side streets near this site. Public transportation access is more than a mile away and is inaccessible by foot traffic during the winter months. Throughout the winter, county plows bury the shoulders, sidewalks, and pathways lining this rural route with several feet of snow and ice, forcing all foot traffic into the road, a very dangerous situation. So it is essential that the developer fully accommodate the parking needs of any residents of this multifamily site. In mitigation, it is critical that the developer adhere at a minimum to the multifamily planning criteria of 1.5 parking spaces per unit plus an additional 5% for guests, and that the director of planning disapprove any request for waiver of this criteria. In fact, it would be prudent if the director of planning increased the parking requirement because of the site's unique characteristics. In closing, I want to thank the commission for giving me the opportunity to express my views and to offer my gratitude to the staff for all the help that they've given me to date. I'll take any questions you may have, please.
Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Point of observation.
Can you use the microphone there or one of them? Thank you, Scott.
More of an observation. It's rewarding to hear someone trained in planning coming to speak on a project, because we very often find ourselves, no matter what sort of creative parts of a project, it always comes down to sewers and parking. So it was your background showed through clearly. Your studies played well, but thank you for the comments.
Thank you.
Any other comments online? Laura, Logan or Melissa? Okay, for Mr. Manley. All right, thank you so much for being here. The last one I have here is Michael, I'm gonna say Bogovets.
You did pretty good.
I did.
Michael Volkovets,
Please come forward.
I actually don't have any additional comments. I agree with what Mr. Clark has said and what was Mr. Manley has said.
For the record, since you've entered the podium area, would you just state your name and where you live?
Sorry, Michael Volkovets, 13209 North Washington Court.
Thank you. All right.
No additional comments. Thank you.
Thanks for being here. That concludes the public testimony from the yellow slips, but yes, sir. Point of order? They don't. But it could be in another pile here. Hold on. Nevertheless, I'm going to allow you to speak. Please come forward.
Good morning. My name is Walter Ayers. I live at 13435 North White House Court, which is almost directly across from this. All the wildlife go behind my house and I can see them from my bedroom windows.
Start the 3-minute thing.
As well as from my patio. So there are numerous deer, that type of thing. So the wildlife thing was stated by Mr. Goodmanson earlier is incorrect. Well, ever since this last hearing we had here, I've had numerous deer. If you want counts, I can give you those, and numerous turkeys that go back and forth in that area. Okay. What I really want to tell you is I'd just like to incorporate and adopt all of the statements that I made at the last hearing, as well as the submissions, the written submissions that I made to both you guys and the most important thing here to me, and Pat stated earlier, I adopt everything he said, everything Mr. Manley said, I agree with. But there's one thing that's really important to me is the fact of public comment. Now, we get public comment with you guys, and you were quite good about it last time, and I do appreciate that. The problem is we have no contact with the developer. This is the first time I've seen Mr. Wilkes. And Mr. Wilkes got up and gave you a nice presentation. Of course, he wants to build something there. The problem is he's never talked to any of us. This is the first time I have ever seen him. All I get is a notice that says, hey, we're having a hearing, which basically could effectively cover this. The purpose of the hearing is the purpose of the public is to sit down and talk to us, say, this is what we're going to build. We may not agree with him. He may not agree with us, but it seems to me that this should be held in abeyance. Any of your decisions should be held in abeyance, like Pat said, simply because he's paid no attention to contact either the HOA, which has been there for 30, 40 years, or has he contacted these individual people other than Mr. Goodmanson sends out this letter that says, here it is, and you could barely figure out where it's at, that's required by the statute. But this, for public participation, to me, is not just coming and talking to you guys. If we have a disagreement with Mr. Wilkes or Mr. Goodmanson about whether they can or can't do something, then I'll tell you, nothing is impossible. Can't do is what you're hearing from Mr. Goodmanson. We can't do this, we can't do that. When I was in construction, it was can do. Okay, so I got a problem. They're not talking to us. I would ask you to hold this in abeyance. Any decision you make until they actually can prove to you they've had a meeting with the HOA and the members of the HOA who wish to attend. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone have their hands raised? Who was that? Go ahead. You have the floor. Make it brief if you could.
If you can come up to the podium.
Because we can't.
The recording won't pick up until somebody.
I normally, these second bites of the apple are kind of hard for the chair to minister, but if you can be brief, I would appreciate it.
As far as the Mill Road is a 35-mile-an-hour speed limit. And that does not happen very often out there. The speed limit is usually 45, 50. You get people going through there. If you build an apartment complex, you're going to have kids in there. And I'm just worried, you know, kids will be riding their bikes coming out into that street, and it could be a safety issue. And I'm just kind of worried about that.
Thank you for the clarification. Anyone else raise their hand?
Be online.
Okay, Scott, did you want to? And
Certainly, several folks made the comment of, robust public participation. A couple of years ago, when we started, the traditional process was to go to the Board of Commissioners early on, get them to initiate, then start the process. We created a preview process that has since been changed in the county code to have this session happen. So this is a public hearing to start the process. It's not a public hearing to approve the process. It is very much in response to the call for continuous public involvement. What will happen today going forward is we will be studying this project, talking to neighbors, talking to individuals, with the developer to gather that comment. As we mentioned before, all of those concerns that we have had here will be looked at by staff and brought back in recommendations to you. So I want to be clear, the county has taken an extraordinary step to open this public participation almost a year ahead of when it would normally be held, which was the hearing when it would be acted on in the fall. So it may sound like we had 15 days to come down here, but it's the first 15 days of a process that's not going to be finished until September. So there's a lot of time to keep going and talking about the project, and we will.
And I did want to add to that, on this one specifically, also recall that this was actually initiated last year, and then public comment was taken at the end. And what we did is we continued it because we did hear that comment from the public last year that they didn't get early enough notice and opportunity to comment. So this has been, they had the opportunity last year, and now we've reopened it to get them more involved throughout the process this entire year. So it's even more so than other initiations. And just so the public is aware, online, there are opportunities to submit comments all the way through this process. And at the very end, when we come back before the Planning Commission for another hearing, the planning department actually addresses the concerns in line items. So we are paying very close attention, and the developer usually is involved in that process where we convey what the public's concerns are, and they're addressed in some manner.
A point of clarification, would you please tell the audience who you are and your position with the county government?
I apologize. I'm the attorney for the Public Works Department.
Thank you.
My name is Jessica Pilgrim, just so you all know.
Thank you, Jessica. Sir?
Just one brief comment. Mine was only as to the developer contacting us, not the board, not their attorney. I'm an attorney too, by the way. But is the comment that he should be working with us? We might agree with it on a lot of things that don't even have to be issues discussed by this board or the county commission or anybody else. My point is, he should be talking to the homeowners association and the homeowners one-on-one.
This public hearing has made that obvious, so thank you for your contribution.
I've got a question
Yes,
for our
Steve.
distinguished legal counsel. I'm not aware of anything in state law, local law that even addresses any requirement other than just human beings communicating with each other that would mandate a developer to sit down with a citizen group. And I see that as being an incredible, great idea that is fraught with a lot of risk. And my question is there anything in the code that I'm not aware of that would even address that?
So the
process?
answer is for this process, there is nothing, and there's a reason for that. So this process is a change to the zoning map and the comprehensive plan. That is a legislative decision, so that's a board decision. It appears a little unique because often the way that they are initiated under our code and by many other counties is a developer or a homeowner or landowner initiates that. They make their request. But the decision itself can be initiated by the planning department. It can be the Board of County Commissioners, and it's wholly legislative. So it's done in the public interest. So it's not a developer, like a building process at this point. It's a planning process. In other parts of the county code, when there's actual development, when we're doing building permits, there might be, especially like CUP processes. I'm not sure about the sit down portion, but it's a little more one-on-one. At this process, the GMA just requires, as someone mentioned, early and continuous public participation. And as Mr. Chesney indicated, we added to our code the opportunity for earlier public comment in this process at the initiation phase, which did not exist until very recently. And then there's a second opportunity, at least one more opportunity to hear from the public in this forum for the actual passing of the comprehensive plan amendment. And then, of course, we allow public comment all the way through that. But yes, there is nothing that is required, and it probably would not fit well in the GMA legislative scheme to have developers, to mandate developers to meet, because it's not always a developer and it's always the Board of County Commissioners' final decision.
Thank you.
Thanks for the clarification.
The one instance that council was referring to is when someone submits a plat. To submit a plat, they must convene a neighborhood meeting with the surrounding areas and bring that information in when they submit the plat. As she said, though, that's a more of a quasi judicial function that goes through the hearing examiner. It doesn't come to you, doesn't go to the Board of County Commissioners. So they're split in those two different paths.
Thank
you. You'll need to come forward and name.
My name is Norm Goodmanson, and I live at 13431 North White House Court. I was here, which is in the Arrowhead Point neighborhood. I was here at the last hearing as well in October, September. And I think that the group that was here left with the idea that this was a done deal, that it was already approved and it was going forward. And I don't know if there's been a change in the process, but I'll just say this, that not only is the Arrowhead Point neighborhood adjacent to that property, but up above it is another 120, 130 homes of the same quality. So in my opinion, what's happening here, whether it be an apartment or a high density townhouse scenario, is where you're putting a kumquat in a big barrel of apples and it doesn't fit. There's nothing congruent with the neighborhood or the area even with what's being proposed. So thank you for your time.
Mr. Goodmanson, I'd like to publicly apologize to you. Your name was on this list, but it did not get in the right order. So yeah,
knows me too, so we can.
but you have logged in. I appreciate that. Oh my goodness. Anyone online? Thank you for being here.
Be online, have their hand.
Okay. Scott, any further comments? Comments from the commission?
I think you're free
I-
to close the public hearing and begin your deliberations if you'd like.
Uh,
I'd just like to know how many possible total doors are going up there.
There's no way to
There-
know. at
There's
this
no way
point.
to know.
No. And that's a good question from, for also background purposes. Planning amendments are land actions. They're not development plans and they're not building permits. It's a generally request for a different kind of land classification to allow a developer to explore different kinds of construction projects. But as this developer mentioned, they tried to do something under the low density zoning and couldn't. So they're asking for a higher density and not to be their advocate, but to paraphrase them, to have more flexibility on how they design that site. But the knowledge of is that, 8 units, is it 12 units, is it 16 units or something? That detail is not available at this time. Along those same lines, however, if the plan amendment is granted, when they come back in with development permits, a similar process takes place that involves a relook at the environmental conditions through the SEPA Act, through traffic impact analyses, through the environmental and stormwater management plans. So every one of these gets another level of detailed analysis as the project gets more detailed.
Thank you.
And to jump on that, just to add, usually when the planning commission is considering these things, and certainly when the planners are considering these for SEPA purposes, we have to consider the max build out, so that it's the max environmental impact. So generally, because we don't restrict them at this stage, that would be something done later at a building permit. So even if the developer were to come in and say, well, I'm going to build townhouses, the planning commission and the planners have to consider multifamily apartments at the max density so that we're sure that we cover all of the environmental impacts.
Thank you.
Thank you. Without objection, closing public testimony on CPA 12-23. No, I've just closed it. Oh, so you're not against it? Okay. All right, comments from the commission, those of our commissioners online.
Yes, this is Melissa.
Well,
Hello.
yeah, Melissa, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I just want to clarify the RCW for the Growth Management Act does say early and continuous, but it also says engaged and informed public participation. So from what I'm hearing, that's what the neighbors are saying. They have not been engaged and they have not been informed. And this is a comprehensive plan amendment, so takes place countywide. I think this is really important to note. Do not forget the whole statute. Thank you.
And just to address that briefly, we actually did a more robust outreach. So all of these individuals, and the reason there's so many, I would imagine, is we required the developer, the applicant this year to circulate mailings within, I apologize, I can't remember how, 400 feet, 400, what was it, feet? Of the area based on who was living there. They had to post signs on the property of the date of the hearing. All of the information, there were links provided in those notices. We also published online for where all of this information could be picked up. As you heard, many of the neighbors have had access to studies that were done previously and information that's all been posted online. The staff report was posted online and accessible to the public. All the comments provided by the different agencies that we previewed with, those were all published online. So we made sure to have a very rigorous public information session, and all the information we had was available online to the public in advance, at least 15 days. And I think we actually had it in advance of the 21 days here, which is in line with our public participation project. So you are correct. That is all a part of it. And we did make sure that we had that all out there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica.
Thanks, Melissa. More comments from the commission as we deliberate on this. Now, the motion would be to send us as, and if you stated correctly for us, please.
The motion would be I move to recommend that the Board of County Commissioners initiate CPA 1223.
So moved. Slogan.
Is that a, Logan, is that a second?
I was trying to move, but if somebody already moved, then I will second.
Thank you. Pete Rayner moved it. Thank you, Logan, for that. Discussion on the motion.
I'll just say I made it pretty clear why I supported this project in the last time we met about this. I laid out, my perspective. I would challenge the public's assertion that this is a rural area. And I laid out pretty clearly why I don't think it's a rural area. And so I would encourage, if the public has questions, to refer back to my statements at the last time, and I'll be supporting this for initiation again.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments on the motion? Are we ready for the vote? All those in favor of this motion? Melissa, sorry. Melissa?
No, I am not going to move it forward for the reasons stated with sewer and traffic. If we cannot provide those basic infrastructure needs, then I don't think we should be approving an increase in zoning. So my respects to my colleague, Logan, but no, I cannot support this going forward.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion?
I support it.
Are ready for the vote? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay.
Nay.
One nay vote. Will Eloise record that for us, please? That would be 4, and 1 nay. The chair will entertain a motion for a 10-minute recess at this point, if that's it'll. Order without objection. Without objection.
Okay.
I'd like to call back to order the Spokane County Planning Commission. Item before us is CPA 3-24, Mr. Chesney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We'll have a map up here in just a second. This is in an area that the commission is familiar with, the Hastings Farwell corridor, northeast part of the Spokane Metro or North Metro area. This is a split parcel request. There have been in the past high density changes to parcels adjacent to this. And while this shows the comprehensive plan map that suggests the underlying parcel in between is low density residential, the zoning map, this is one of those discrepancies in our system. The zoning map already shows the intervening parcel as a higher density. So this would unify that in a more of an assembled site. Just a hair under 3 acres. It would change the population from as many as up by a potential 60 or so units in the population increase to potentially 75, given the typical notice or typical densities. Comments we received on this related to increased traffic, pedestrian safety issues along the corridor, and lack of transit. You can see in the vicinity map, this is the parcel on the right of this map. Its proximity to the one we just discussed, CPA 1223. They share some resources within their 1 mile radius, but a lot of the resources will be within the metro or within the typical nearness category for multifamily housing. And with that, Mr. Chairman, we would stand aside for public testimony.
Without objection, public testimony is hereby open for CPA 3-24. Do we have an applicant here that would like to speak? Please step forward.
I've brought a short presentation for you.
Name and address, please.
Excuse me. Clifton Trimble, Storehouse Engineering, 510 East 3rd Avenue, Spokane, Washington.
Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to come here today, not just for my project, for everyone's, and thank everyone for being here. I represent the applicant, Senior Homes Foundation of Eastern Washington, at the location that Mr. Chesney just mentioned. So this is a close-up of the site. This parcel here is 1.7 acres, and this is 1.3 acres approximately. And as he noted, this proposal is to go from LDR to HDR. There's Farwell Road here, Pittsburgh. Some of the existing conditions of the site, just to kind of orient us and get us more familiar. This is on Farwell, looking to the southeast. So you can kind of see the complexion of what's on the ground. This is on Farwell, also looking towards the southwest. And again, on Farwell, looking towards the southwest at a tighter angle, kind of up close against the parcel immediately adjacent to our parcel. And this is without the zoning overlay, so you can see what's existing. So single family homes with a few outbuildings is what is existing. So the zoning compatibility is, as you can see, this area has a lot of HDR around it, immediately adjacent to and across the street. With medium density residential, it's served by public transit. It's immediately adjacent to an urban arterial, as well adjacent to these high density residential units. When we first bring some of these projects that I've had the pleasure of working with staff and the commissioners in the past, we understand that there's several criteria that they're looking for in addition to the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan. One that they're compatible with the existing community, that they're adjacent to an urban arterial, that they're near goods and services to support higher density, and they're near recreational opportunities in the surrounding area. This one checks up all the boxes. It's a good proposal, and we're happy to bring it forward to you. So speaking of those comprehensive plans, goals, and policies, it's supported by UL 1, UL 7, and UL 3. UL 1 stated as to provide a healthful, safe, and suitable urban environment that offers a variety of opportunities and affordable housing and employment. UL 7 noting that new urban development must be located within urban growth area boundaries, which this is, and UL 7 as to guide efficient development patterns by locating residential development in areas where facilities and services can be provided in a cost-effective and timely fashion. Some of those are noted as we're in close proximity to the Mead Master Plan development, which is a very large development. This also shares high density. The parcels front Farwell Road, which is an urban arterial, so it's got excellent access. Farwell has bike lanes connected to the Children's of the Sun Trail and the Hastings Park and Ride, recreational amenities, and of course, public transit. There's sidewalks on Farwell connecting to these destinations. We're in close proximity to a host of amenities, goods and services, including Costco, Fred Meyer, et cetera. And I'll have a map here soon to really highlight some of those. Close proximity to the high school, Northwest Middle School, Farwell Elementary School, located in the North Metro UGA, and it is currently has county sewer adjacent to the parcel in Farwell, and it is in Water District number 3. So these are some of those goods and services that we are immediately adjacent to. These are our parcels. We're approximately about a mile to the shopping center here, which has various retail, grocery stores, various restaurants. I don't know if any of you have been to Adelano's, but it's there too. And some pizza places, sandwich shops, restaurants. There's pharmacies, Walgreens Shopping Center, and of course this Hastings Park and Ride. So what else here? This is the Costco, and it's of course by the North-South Highway and Highway 2 here. And this is the Children of the Sun Trail, and then those elementary schools are also in the surrounding area. So in addition to these adjacent high density residential parcels, we just feel it fits perfectly. Thank you for your time and consideration. The applicant respectfully requests your approval to move forward in this process so we can come speak to you again when the time is appropriate. Thank you very much. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions of the applicant? Online, questions to the applicant? Logan, Melissa?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We're going to have you testify, right? You have a question? Okay, ask your question. I'm
I'm Andy Batchelder. I live on that block. And I noticed that the owner tends to build senior living facilities and things like that. Is that the plan? What's that? I just
Sure.
Repeat the question for the record, please.
The question was the applicant's intention on development. That's, as we mentioned before, that's somewhat unknown. It could be any number of things. Most likely it would be some element of senior independent living facility. I understand that the applicant has reached out to the surrounding neighbors, which we encouraged him to as as kind of preceding our time here today. So that would be most likely. I don't want to get into the weeds of that because, but my understanding it would be most likely, senior independent living facility to the land development code if this were to be approved, but TBD.
Thank you. Other questions for the applicant on the commission? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Andrew Batchelder, you are up.
I'm Andy Batchelder. My address is 1511 East Mead Street. If I could just have a second before the timer starts for a note of clarification or correction. On the comprehensive plan, the two plots as designated are flipped from what it is on the scout map that you can see through the assessor's office. So it's a nitpicky thing probably, but it's,
This is the comprehensive plan map, not the zoning map.
okay.
The zoning map shows the zones properly. Right now, they're actually split due to a decision in the nineties or so when GMA was coming on board. So there's a discrepancy in our system.
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so left hand, right hand sort of not talking to
The
each
map
other.
that the applicant had up did accurately reflect the zoning of those other intermediate parts.
Right, right. And that's great. Thank you. So, so on the map that
Hello.
was on the map that was up there, the parcel directly east of the parcels in question was zoned to high density last year. And currently there's a new complex being built there for 144 units, 227 parking spaces, and 258 sleeping units. Vehicles from this complex will exit onto Pittsburgh near the stoplight at Farwell. The impact of this complex on our residential neighborhood has yet to be felt, but will no doubt be consequential. With respect to the parcels in question, I have concerns about traffic and safety. Hastings Farwell Road is a very busy 4-lane road with a central turn lane. The speed limit is 35 miles an hour, which is routinely exceeded by most drivers. Street races sometimes commence from the stoplight at Farwell in Pittsburgh. I've almost been hit as a pedestrian in the crosswalk, crossing Farwell by someone running a red light. 4 times daily during the school year, the intersections of Farwell with Pittsburgh, which has a stoplight, and the intersection of Hastings Farwell with Perry, which does not, are flooded by buses and private vehicles delivering and picking up school children from Northwood Middle School and Farwell Elementary School, which run on staggered schedules. For some reason, there's no school zone signage calling to reduce the speed to 20 miles an hour during the school changeover times on Farwell near those schools, as there is further west on Hastings in front of Meade High School. In addition to public schools, there's also the preschool located across the street on the northwest corner of Farwell and Pittsburgh, which has its own comings and goings of vehicles carrying children. Children walk to and from school generally across the light at Pittsburgh and then walk south on Pittsburgh, where there are no sidewalks on either side of the street or road. There are also no sidewalks on Meade Street and further into most of the residential neighborhood in the immediate south and southwest vicinity of the block in question. People walk their dogs, their children, strollers, kids ride bikes and roller skate in those streets. Staff from Willow Grove, which is across the street from the block in question, which is an assisted living facility, walk their residents sometimes in wheelchairs on these streets as well, again with no sidewalks. Any high-density housing built in the lots in question would be facing Farwell and appear to need to empty onto Farwell near the light at Pittsburgh, adding to congestion at that intersection and increasing the delays of turning on and off Hastings, Farwell, and Perry. Alternately, they might dump onto the currently dead-end North Helena Street, which would then dump onto Meade Street, which again has no sidewalks. More high-density housing in this area will lead to more vehicular and pedestrian traffic on Farwell and the surrounding neighborhood, making driving and walking less safe. If a traffic study is done, it should be repeated after the completion of the above-mentioned complex that is currently under construction. And then my time is up. I have other comments on the lack of public transit. There is no
Were
bus
those
line
submitted,
there.
were those submitted to the commission in writing?
It can be, yeah. I can just,
Can we have a copy of that?
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you.
Appreciate your coming down. Anyone have their hands raised? Can you get a minute? No raised hands? Okay. Any comments from the commission before we close public testimony on those testifying? Seeing none. Seeing none, closing, sir,
I live in that area and I went to school at Farwell Elementary.
you need to come to the mic and state your name and where you live.
I'd just like to reiterate what the last gentleman said. It's
Your name
Adam Egley.
and your address.
It's 12324 North Florida Avenue.
Thank you.
I grew up in the area. I went to school at Farwell Mead High School. It's just a terrible, terrible place for a high density building on that corner at Pittsburgh and Farwell right there. Just because of the traffic, everything that he said, I'd reiterate. It's a bad idea.
Thank you. Any other questions of those testified? If not, I'll close public, so order to close public testimony. Discussion from the commissioners, so we will entertain a motion to approve this advisory vote on 3-024.
Suggested motion would be that the planning commission moves to recommend the Board of County Commissioners initiate CPA 03-24.
Do we have a motion? So moved by Pete Rayner.
Second.
Second by Logan. Discussion on that motion, please. Melissa, we'll start with you. Do you have a discussion on the motion?
No.
Thank you. Lonnie? No, nothing. Pete? No?
I have the somewhat unique position of having 5 kids that went through Northwood Junior High School. And I drive by that every day. And I think we face a dilemma. Wherever we can put multifamily, we put it where there's huge traffic congestion and challenges that have to be faced. And I don't know how we face them other than to face them and to move forward and solve them. And we've approved a lot of multifamily projects right there. I know they're not obligated to do a senior housing, but I know we need all kinds of housing. And I think this needs to go forward, and the traffic issues that the people are talking about need to be addressed, and that's part of a growing thing that we face.
Thank you. Further comments?
Yeah, there definitely needs to be some signage to reduce speed in there. Definitely being in school if there's no signs. I mean, I believe you mentioned that, sir.
Yeah. And at the high school where people are older, down on high school, we have a sign, 20 miles per hour flashing when the school's going in and school coming out. Over at Farwell, you've got an elementary school and a middle school that's coming off Highway 2, and people are buzzing by there like nobody's business. And it's 35 miles an hour. Posted. There's no slowing down. I had to stop, go through 3 school zones just driving down here today.
Thank you. Further comments? Are we ready for the vote on 03 CPA 03-24 on the motion?
Mr. Commissioner, if I could just say, I'm going to support this. I agree with Commissioner Rayner that, Mr. Chairman, if I misspoke there, I agree with Commissioner Rayner. I think that, these are issues that can be mitigated, and I support initiation here, and I'm going to be voting in favor.
Thank you, Logan. Ready for the vote? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by saying nay.
Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
Mr.
CPA,
Chairman,
yes,
on to CPA 04-24.
let's go it. Let's do it.
Keeping Ella busy today. Thank you. This is a slight difference from the ones we've seen before. It's in that same rough area on the east edge of Farwell Drive up against the railroad corridor. Currently, it is a light industrial tract, 5 1/4 acres or so. It is proposed to go into medium density residential. This would generally satisfy the county code conditions under 14-402-040, one, consistent with or implements the comprehensive plan and is not detrimental to the public welfare. And two, change in economic, technological, or land use conditions has occurred to warrant modification. We believe further analysis will satisfy one or both of those. You can see the description based on what the map was. It's next to that residential area. And it will obviously move from 0 residential units to under medium density residential as much as 83 units, providing housing for more than 120 or so people. All right, we'll talk. You can see the zoning radius, the service radii here. There are schools and things within that, and some emerging commercial area in the central historic Mead area, but not in great proximity to that. And one thing that we'll be studying, as we've seen in early on, there is county sewer stub on the east side of just above the industrial area to the west of this. But this would require somewhere around 1,000 feet of extension of a sewer main to come out and serve this project. So it will require some financial analysis on the applicant part to see this through, and we will also be working through that as part of the analysis. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have on 04.
Without objection, open public hearing testimony.
And Mr. Chairman, Planning Department received no comments on this ahead of time.
Okay, so noted. In the event someone's raised their hand. Sorry, is that for me? Comment from, no, okay.
I think we have members of the audience.
No, okay. No one's raised their hand? Let me take a look here. So 4. Oh yeah, here we go. We've got a few here. The applicant. You want to speak to this, please?
Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Ben Goodmanson, Whip Consulting Engineers, here on behalf of the property owner. Could you bring up the service map again?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, please. Thank you. We wholeheartedly agree with the assessment that Scott has presented here. This property is an interesting property. It is a triangular shaped property up against the Burlington Northern San Francisco Railroad, BNSF. It is an active railroad. And why it is a light industrial, just kind of sitting out away from everything, we're not exactly sure why that is, but we believe that it should be residential in nature. We could consider that it be LDR, or the LDR, similar to. However, LDR next to a railroad is not very appetizing for sales and for, but with apartments for a medium density residential, we can create that buffer for the existing residents on the west side, but we can also be more flexible in our designs to be able to buffer ourselves against the railroad. Mr. Chesney was correct that there is a potential for sewer connection. It's approximately 1,000 feet from the intersection of Farwell and Cuba to the intersection of Farwell and Market. In the public comments not the public comments, in the agency comments that have come in, it was stated that the sewer line connection at Market and Farwell is a dry line. Dry line being that sewer line was installed as part of the public works project to improve the roadway. It is not currently an active sewer connection because it flows to further to the west and then north And they're still awaiting a lift station to be able to serve that sewer line. We're not asking to go and build something today. We're not asking that. We are simply looking to correct what we believe to be a map error to have light industrial that far away. While light industrial serves great for the bus barn for Meade, it's not really applicable there. If it was applicable there, then it would have already been developed as light industrial. And whether it's light industrial or it's residential, the sewer question is still in. The sewer line would have to be put in, or a septic system would need to be put in, as Mr. Savage made his comments. So for sewer, we're still looking into that. We'll be able to provide that analysis and kind of determine where that's going to go. A lot of it is contingent upon public utilities, their comprehensive plan, and when they look to see that lift station to become online, and so that they can use the investment that they put into the road system. If you've been out to the site, or if you even go onto Google Earth, it's very flat, not a lot of trees currently. There was perhaps, but ultimately it's still within the UGA. It's still against the railroad, and we're asking you to initiate this, to be able to move forward so that we can have those studies, so that we can look into this further, so that we can implement the UGA and the comprehensive plan of Spokane County. Any questions?
One, is there any fencing or anything up against the railroad tracks?
There is currently no fencing.
Questions of the applicant? Melissa? No?
Yes, I do. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. So light industrial zoning is typically situated away from residential, and in this case, out there. So in light of numerous railway accidents, would that not be a concern? And also, this seems, it is very forward thinking. But right up against the railroad tracks, and no fencing at this point in time seems very not forward thinking. Thank you.
It had a little difficulty in that. There was a lot, from what I understood, there was a lot of hypotheticals in that. And yes, we deal with hypotheticals in comprehensive plan. But the implementation of fencing, buffers, all of those things would come at a time of building permit and not in this body.
Melissa, did that answer your
Thank you
question?
for presuming on that, but no, there's not a lot of hypotheticals.
Further commentary?
I have nothing unless you have other questions.
Melissa, do you have a further discussion to carry forward?
Nope.
Thank you.
No.
Logan?
Nothing from me.
Okay.
Somebody down here had their hand up.
They're going to speak later? Okay. Well, we've got some, we're going to start the process here right now. Okay, thank you very much. Public testimony will continue. Melissa Eckley?
I want my neighbor to talk before me because I read it.
Who was that? Is that
Fallon.
Alan?
Thank you.
Welcome.
Hi, everybody. My name's Fallon Neely. I reside at 12513 North Cuba Street. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak here. So I would like to express our collective opposition to moving forward with the zone change. When I say collective, I mean me plus many neighborhoods. We do have a petition here with nearly 40 signatures of people that are all in agreement for some big concerns that we have for this. First, I want to go over the impact of our quality of life. This area is bordering rural, so there's not a lot of people there. There's kids running around in the neighborhoods, biking, playing basketball. There's no sidewalks on Cuba or on Farwell next to this property. And the roads are pretty beat up, full of potholes and stuff. So there's just quite a bit of concerns for the safety of the kids in the neighborhood, as well as the strain on the infrastructure, not having, like I said, sidewalks. They're not very wide roads. They're full of potholes. They don't get plowed. There's also no access to public transportation nearby. So that's another concern if we're adding 125 individuals into this area. Another thing I would like to bring up, environmental concerns. There's quite a bit of wildlife in this area. Since we're right on the edge of that rural, we do see quite a bit of deer, turkey, all sorts of different ones, moose. I already mentioned the strain on the infrastructure. And then another one is community cohesion. Like I said, this is bordering a huge rural area. So to go from low density to medium density and then rural, it just doesn't seem like a very smooth or cohesive plan. And I know that the person proposing it did mention that they would be buffering the tracks, but we would prefer not having the buffer. So there is a lot of work that does get done on that railroad. So I do think there would be quite a bit of concerns as well for the railroad track being able to access it like they do right now to whatever work they're doing on there. I do think that could be a big concern for them as well. So I think that pretty much sums it up. Like I said, I think the biggest concern for all of us is our kids' safety. There's a lot of kids that are running around in the neighborhood, and we're very concerned about that increased amount of traffic and possible crime that it could bring to the area. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Questions from the commission?
No questions. I just first of all want to assert that I don't think that apartments result in crime. So I just want to push back on that comment a little bit. Also want to understand, I don't recall seeing anything agency comment from BNSF. I'm curious, have we heard from BNSF? And has there been any effort to proactively?
It's a railroad.
I'm not sure about that, to be honest.
Sorry, that question was more for Scott or the planning director or staff.
No.
Okay, no comments from the railroad? No?
Mr. Chairman, we received no comments from the railroad.
Thank you.
This is Melissa. And I would just say, in my work with BNSF, they don't comment until the end anyway. So if we're going to continue to approve zoning changes from low density to higher density, we need to be very careful about where and when that happens. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So noted. Next.
Yeah, I would kind of just chime in behind Melissa there. I think that in this case, we should make a, it's not my job to direct staff, but I think that staff should try to make a proactive effort to communicate with BNSF. I'm pretty comfortable moving this forward at this time, but I would like to have some sort of comment, affirmative or otherwise, from BNSF by the time we go to have full approval this fall. And so I'm hopeful that we can get some kind of response from BNSF, understanding that that's difficult.
Thank you. Any other comments? Next person, Melissa Ackley. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm Melissa Eckley. I reside in Meade, a homeowner. My husband's been there for over 50 years. I've been there for 34. My
Your
address,
Your address, please. for the
yes,
record.
I'm 12517 North Cuba Street,
Thank you.
Meade, Washington. My biggest concern, of course, are the children. I work for the Meade School District. They kind of absorbed a lot of Meade. We don't have a mayor for Meade to represent us against even, I'm pro Meade School District. I work for Meade, but they take up a lot of property, absorb houses, absorb land, and affect the wildlife. We darted moose in our school playground because the moose get trapped in the playground, can't get out. Now, if we have this apartment building going up or whatever they aim to do with it, my biggest concern is the children. My concern is the children have no public park in Meade at all. So they play on that patch of land. Back in the day, there were some trees there about 4 years ago. Each tree was removed. The deers, the moose have no place to go. So they start running for the stadium. They run around the stadium, can't get in that fence. They jump over the fence in the playground at the school district. Now the children, the trains come by 5 times a day and they are loud. They start honking about a mile before they get to the intersection. They just honk. Well, you know, a train is pretty loud. Well, not only that, but the vibration from the trains on the ground. Even if he does a buffer, you can put a vase on a shelf in a house, and about a week later, that vase is at the edge of the shelf just from the ground shaking from the trains rolling by. We've gotten used to the trains. We miss the deers come out where there used to be the woods there on the property he's talking about. They've ripped out all the trees. I'm concerned that the children that will have to live in this apartment complex, whatever he aims to build, will have no place to play. They'll be playing on the railroad tracks. It's dangerous. What if a train derails? We have trains rolling down there. It's 4-track trains come through there, and it's a heavy train traffic area. It's a rural area. There was cornfield there back in the, in the early 50s, and then they changed it to light industrial. And then now they want to change it to medium housing or whatever. We're just concerned about the effects of the neighborhood and that the people, the traffic, when I leave for work at 4 in the morning, getting out there on Farwell, it's just a residential rural area, farmland. Matter of fact, right across from Farwell where they're wanting to build, that's agricultural land. People bought that home as a home, and they can't even build on their own land because this is owned as agricultural, but there's no weed or anything growing there for years. It just seems crazy to me in a sense, because I just worry about the children. Every kid loves coming to my house because I got a tree house and a pond and my home and my animals. And then I'm thinking, all these kids, well, where do they go? They can go to the public school, I guess, and play on that area, but just crossing Market's getting more and more dangerous because of the influx of people. It just seems the train mania. I can't believe Burlington Northern ain't either. They don't not aware or something's going on, because you think they'd be here to represent them because of the danger if they had the derailment or anything, if your house is right up against it. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you very much. Question from Melissa? Next, Tom Eckley.
Yeah, my name's Tom Eckley. The property I own is at 12511 North Cuba. That was my sister-in-law. They live down the street. Got grandkids, a lot of kids. I lived within 1 block of there for 71 years. We did see a train go off the track there one time when I was a kid, derailed. Anyway, the roads are bad. I also have a rental property on North Regal right off of Francis. They built those apartments on the corner of Francis and Regal, low-income apartments. That Regal has turned into a drag strip down there south behind the park. I see that happening in Meade on Farwell Road and Cuba, the traffic. And then today I had no idea. I've heard 500 units, 150 units. Till today here, we had no idea. They're talking 83 units. Is that what I heard? I don't know. I don't even know. We don't know where they're going to put them. Are they going to have them facing Cuba? Are they going to have them facing, You know, and I've got property across the street. The lots are 100 by 180. They're nice lots. And, you know, I'm selling one to my granddaughter right now, and I had a rental across the street. I sold to a renter because I didn't want him to move. You know, why can't they make it like, just like it is everywhere else where I've lived in Mead all my life? It was single family dwelling, duplex or mobile home forever. You know, now they want to change that to apartment complex in Mead. I don't know where all these people are gonna go. I don't know if you're familiar with what I'm talking about, but the light at Market, if that light's red and there's all these people at these apartments, that traffic's gonna be backed up clear over the tracks. So I don't know where they're gonna put all these people. The traffic is, you know, I've lived there forever. And I've said Mead before trailer houses a million times before the trailer courts. It just changed. You know, and I was getting out of high school and stuff, that all those mobile home courts went in, and the crime and the cars and the dogs and the people and the, you know, it just changed the whole area. And so I just think it should be left. I would have no problem if they put houses in there and cul-de-sacs, and, you know, I've lived by the train. I don't even hear it, but they'll hear it. It's loud. And, you know, they're not gonna fence that off. It's the house that I have a rental house on Cuba that I'm selling to my granddaughter there, who was born at another place a block away down there. She's 25. I walked out of that house the other day. It's a block and a half from Farwell, and the train is so loud, it just started honking there, and then it honks clear past Farwell, because there's no, you know, it's just a little 2-lane road going over the tracks. There's nothing stops when the train's coming, even on Peon, you know, it's just loud. Well, like she was saying, when the people are living in apartments, when those trains go by, they're from here to the street out here. Their stuff's gonna be going right off the tables. So I just think it should not stay industrial, but go to the same as the rest across the street and all of that. I don't think we can handle all this apartment building there.
Does that conclude your remarks?
What's
Does
that?
that conclude your remarks?
Yeah.
Thank you for coming down. Appreciate it. Those are the last three. These are the three that I have here. Anyone have raised hands on this particular?
No raised hands.
CPA 0424. No comments from the commission. Yeah, public testimony is here, hereby close without objection. Ready for the deliberation, commissioners? We'll start with our commissioners on internet, on the web. Melissa, would you like to make a comment?
No, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Logan, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I stated my case. I have some concerns about the train, but I'm going to support this for initiation so that we can go collect the rest of the information that we need to make a real decision in the fall. So I'll be supporting this.
Pete? Go ahead. I'm good.
We are challenged in this decision-making body, recommending body, we're not decision makers, we're recommenders, to provide housing for all citizens of Spokane. And what we've done with the single-family zoning that we've had for the last 50 years is we've priced about 60% of our children and grandchildren out of the housing market. And so we're challenged to provide housing that will take care of that 60 to 65%. Where do we put them? And if the single family neighborhoods object to every application we get for something higher than single family, our problem's only going to get worse. And so that's a dilemma we face.
Lonnie?
You couldn't have summarized that more perfectly, Pete, and I appreciate.
Say again, Logan.
Pete couldn't have summarized that more perfectly, and I really appreciate his comment there.
Thank you, Logan.
Agreed.
Okay. All right, seeing no other comments from the commission. Please state the motion.
This gentleman, I think, has one more question.
I just got a statement. I think Logan, he said something about.
Please recite your name. and
Adam
address.
Eckley. I own multiple homes in the zone. 2324 Florida Avenue, 12318 North Myrtle Avenue, 12318 Freya Avenue. He said something about the crime issue. Well, out in Mead, we have a Mead Royale Trailer Park. I believe it's 200 something units. Major amounts of crime, major crime. So I'm just saying he pushed back against the crime comment and not true.
Thank you for your comment.
Lots of crime.
Thank you.
I'll follow up again. I'm not going to let that go. Apartments do not equal crime. Can crime be associated with multiple types of residential living? Yes, but apartments do not equal crime. If you have some evidence that suggests that that's the case, please do email it to me. I'd be interested to see it.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to the motion that we'll read.
Suggested motion would be the Planning Commission recommends the Board of County Commissioners initiate CPA 0424.
So moved by P. Rayner. Second? By who? Second by Lonnie?
Yep.
Discussion on the motion? Melissa?
Yes, this is Melissa. So, sorry, I can't support this motion. A triangular lot next to a railroad is like historical information. So they exist all over the place. Look at Cheney or downtown Spokane. So no, and I agree with Logan's assessment that crime does not necessarily mean a crime situation. But on the other hand, I don't, again, transportation and infrastructure of basic kinds is not available in the county, as numerous people have testified all day. So, no, I'm not going to support this going forward. If the county can't fund it, they can't have it.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? Are you ready for the vote? All those in favor of the motion for CPA 04-24 signify by saying aye.
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 All
Nay.
opposed? Nay. Nay. 4 plus 4 and 1 against. Motion passes. CPA 05-24.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. This one is a little unusual for our group in the last few years anyway. This is in the Spangle urban growth area on the north side of Spangle. You can kind of see the context here. The city of Spangle, town of Spangle is to the south. The urban growth area is the hatched part on the north side. Highway 195 is here, and the old highway runs here. The parcel is a split parcel with a single parcel number that was bifurcated by transportation some time ago. This generally is supported by the county code in 14-402-040 number 2, where economic or technological change warrants modification, and could be consistent with number 1 with the comprehensive plan and not detrimental.
Thank you. Please continue.
Not detrimental to the public welfare. We received some comments on this. Notably, they were related to, is this governed by the Growth Management Act? And it is in the urban growth area. There were some comments about floodplain and to the far east of the longer parcel running north-south is a DNR stream. So there will be some wetland considerations as this moves forward. You can kind of see here, it is located in that urban growth area. The site is currently not served by urban services. And the context being in rural Spangle, there's not a lot in that 1 mile radius, but we've outlined some of the existing amenities, services, and facilities in the Spangle area. Mr. Chairman, that's all I have.
Thank you. Applicant, please. Oh, need to open the public testimony. So ordered. Yeah, right away. Dwight,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm here on behalf of the recent purchaser of that property who requested that they be able to do something with retail. Nothing big, but as staff recommended to us that when we inquired about the comp plan amendment, that we were in fact, as you saw, inside the UGA. And so consequently, the recommendation from staff was that we do regional commercial. We own, the purchaser has 55 contiguous acres, including this. The UGA boundary bisects his ownership, and the southerly portion, but not all of his property, is inside that UGA. Similarly, he owns other UGA joint planning area designation on the other side of Spangle Creek. We've had Bill Towie, a wetland biologist, out to look at the stream and verify what indeed is a controlled stream. I had heard that when we met with the town council in January, and they pointed out that that particular stream, because of the farming activity historically, both sides of it, all flat land, it filled up with dirt from farming activity. So it got dredged. And when it got dredged, that seemed to solve their problem some 5 years ago as to flooding. But we will have a wetland report just verifying those things. As Mr. Chesney and I discovered, the designations on the maps are inaccurate as to boundaries. One would be inclined from those maps to think we couldn't even use what we're proposing. That is to say, it looks like it's all inside. Part of it is we adjoined between the new highway and the old highway. That's the part we really want to use, is adjacent to the city's treatment facility, sewer. And so anyway, the town is hopeful for us to be able to go forward. We will certainly want to work with them, and we'll be continuing to communicate with them to make sure everything can be done to everybody's satisfaction. You're moving forward with the 26th annual amendment. They will be anxious to have your assistance to look at the rest of those UGAs, or one on the south boundary of town and the rest of this on the north, as to the appropriate use. And also they need to look into a water plan for future service. And that's really been their stumbling block all along, is the inadequacy of water and water system to serve these areas. For us, we could actually get by if we could do it with a well. It's a very small operation that we want to put there, but we're inside that UGA, so the appropriate zoning has to be some urban zone. And the town's not afraid of what we want to do, and is evident by the testimony or their reaction when we went to the council meeting. So anyway, it should work. The old highway, if you're familiar with coming out of town there, almost meets up at the edge of the new highway. And that's not a heavily traveled road, but it's a well-improved road. Shouldn't be a problem for traffic.
Thank you. Questions to the applicant? Logan,
Okay.
questions for the applicant?
Nothing from me.
Thank you, Logan. Lonnie?
No.
Pete? Melissa, looks like she may have signed off. Okay, at the moment, okay, very good. There is, we have now would be the time to come before us. May have left. Okay, thank you. Anybody online? No one? No one has their hand raised? Yep. Oh, okay. Yeah.
We have the benefit of having an experienced engineer on that project.
Please proceed.
Ben Goodmanson, Whipple Consulting Engineers, 21 South Pines Road.
Yeah, Ben.
Dwight Hume has approached me in anticipation for the traffic portion of this. And as we've seen, proposing a regional commercial out in Spangle raises a lot of questions. Well, what's going to be built out there? This is solely to do a small commercial operation, but to be able to do this small commercial operation, it needs to fit into some slot, and the regional commercial, as I understand, is what it fit into. As we go through the process, we will curtail probably the traffic portion of it, talking with Public Works, looking at, well, this is what we actually want to do. And then we would anticipate an MDNS would then limit the commercial application to what was studied without further study. So that on the traffic portion, that's what we'd be looking at. Also on the traffic, being associated with Rolling Hills development out in Spangle for over the course of a couple of years. Traffic, we did traffic analysis out on the highway, the intersections of the highway in this area. They all had good levels of service. They had good sight distance available. So we didn't see a whole lot of impacts in those terms. Also associated with the Rolling Hills development is that we worked with the city and hired a engineer, Tom Haggerty Jr., to update their water system. Their water system is good. It just hasn't been updated for a while, and it hadn't been proved out. In the proving process, they found that one of their meters had gone bad, and so they were getting inaccurate data. They have since replaced that. They're in process. They're working through it. That's something that the city itself, of Spangle, is working on. They can connect. There is a water line that runs right through the highway and then turns and goes up to the treatment plant. So to be able to extend just a few 100 feet, if that's what's needed for fire or something like that, then that's doable. Sewer, on the other hand, is a little bit more involved. But with such a small operation, the septic system could easily serve until future improvements could come along where they could put in a small little lift station to be able to get it to the treatment plant. So I see a lot of opportunity in this, that it would serve the community as the city anticipates that it will, and that we would have the infrastructure there to support it depending on what is needed. Any questions?
Any questions for Ben? Logan, any questions for Ben?
None here.
Yep. Honey? No. Okay.
I guess I changed my mind. I'll shoot a question. It seems like there's a pretty specific plan here. And so I know you're not bound to anything, but maybe Ben or Dwight, could you just give us a little bit more information about the type of retail establishment? Is it a gas station? Is it just a convenience store? And if that's not possible, I totally understand.
Thank you. I'm glad you asked that question. No, a good mental picture of this would be something like Harvest House on Green Bluff. You got about 3,000 square feet of mixed use. You'd have maybe you can stop in here and get coffee and lunch or something like that. Primarily, they're orienting to ag product sales, farm supplies, and then they really want to, and they live right out there, by the way, and they would like to, connect with the citizens of Spangle, as well as the regional area. In the fall, they might have corn maze, that sort of thing on some of their property adjacent to this. This is large tract ag, but right there with it. And so that's their orientation. They're not trying to be a fast food as you would typically think of a fast food or anything of major retail type. Okay.
Thank you, Dwight. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Logan, that's a good question. Thank you. Okay. Without objection, close public testimony. Ready for the discussion? Let's have a motion and then we'll discuss the motion.
Mr. Chairman, suggested motion would be the Planning Commission moves that the Board of County Commissioners initiate CPA 0524.
Do I have a motion? So moved by Pete Painter. Second by Lonnie Edwards. A discussion on the motion, please.
I'll just say I think this is a good idea. There's pretty limited services of any kind between Cheney Spokane Road and the county line on 195. And yeah, I'm not all that concerned about what kind of retail or commercial service it is, but it seems like it's a good addition to the 195 corridor, and I'll be supporting it.
Thank you, Logan. Are we ready for the vote? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. That motion is passed. Next, CPA 02-22.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. This is the last carryover or continued project from 2022 and 23. As you remember, it's on the West Plains. It has changed in its scale and scope from 108 acres of mixed use, converting from light industrial to roughly 38 acres. As with the 2022 analysis, this meets, or we presume this will meet Spokane County Code 14-402, 0401 and 2. That's our testing to get started. Since there is no population there, now it is a net increase in population. Could be as much as 400 residents in that mixed use context. And again, like many of the West Plains projects, this is residential going out and adding more to that mix that will ultimately provide a market for retail or other amenities. To the south of this, down by the Medical Lake interchange, the county has recently purchased 10 acres for a regional or a community park. So there's a new park facility that's going to come into play for some of these residential areas, although this one is not exactly proximate to it. But it's part of that emerging West Plains corridor. We have talked with our colleagues at the city. As you recall, they had strong objections to the 108-acre parcel. This one is more of finding the right size pipes to make it work, and those would be mitigations placed on this applicant as part of their renewed analysis. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Chesney. Without objection, public testimony is hereby open.
Oh, open, yes. They would like to speak.
Sir. Name and address. Take your time. We're good. We do have the applicant here, but if it's okay, Dwight, do you mind if we go for, thank you. Sir,
Go ahead. Okay, I'm not.
typically we
Taking
let
your
the
thought.
applicant go first. It's their,
All right.
it's their pocketbook. So let's,
What, yeah. Anyway, the application, Dwight Hume on the record. What we're doing here is moving forward with what we proposed last year, no changes. And you have an MDNS in regards to that 38-acre proposal. And what's left to be done is perfecting a mutual agreement of a development agreement between the commissioners and ourselves. And that's what we're limiting ourselves in moving forward and focus on that. So that's what we'll do to implement what basically was reviewed and critiqued by all agencies last year. In fact, you have a comment from City of Spokane, Spencer Gardner, saying, if it's still what it was last year, I'm okay with it. Okay? That's it.
all right. Thank you, Dwight.
Thank you.
Sir?
And my name is Ron Lindner, 4612 South Cheatham Road. And this is Julie.
Alexander, 4612 South Cheatham Road. I'm his assistant and will be helping.
Thank you.
It's-
Welcome.
It has to do with the development of 60 units on Cheatham Road. I don't have any paperwork. I didn't know anything about this until yesterday. And so that's why we're here. So we're kind of lost.
Our biggest concerns are safety. Like the other people, you know, traffic, like, we don't have anything but stop signs, rural dirt roads, no shoulders. There's a sewer problem, traffic. There's also wildlife, there's wetlands. And this whole thing should be DOA as that other one went. Before anybody spends a ton of money on environmental impact and all that, when it's just doesn't make any sense at all, the traffic and everything else. There's no services, there's no bus line, there's no store anywhere near.
It's over 1.5 miles from a bus stop. And there's a trucking company next to my place. It's semi-trailers, they haul cars and trucks. There's another trucking company down the street. He has several trucks and flatbed trailers. There's a marijuana growing company, Kinney Corner from my place. And they've been allocated there and I have no problem with that because it's medical. And then we have a window cleaning company also on that road. So there's basically businesses. I believe there's only one resident and that's been there for 30 years. And
But-
so it's just a problem, I think,
To
making
go-
commercial property into residence.
Let alone high density residential property.
That's on Cheatham Road. 4612 is my address, so I don't know any paperwork. You have to look it up, I guess.
The fact that you are here and are testifying is sufficient in our eyes, and we appreciate that. Our job is to gather all the information that we can
Yeah,
as we move forward. And thank you for making the effort to come here. It means a lot.
well, there's a lawsuit going on between
developer.
the developer and the
Neighbor.
homemaker that has that Kinney Corner property. So
I'm not sure, is that relevant here? The
Well,
lawsuit?
the neighbors are all upset. Why they didn't get here today, I don't know.
we didn't know anything
It's
about it.
just light industrial to high density residential is insane.
Okay. Thank you for your points. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Sorry to be a problem.
Absolutely not. Yeah,
Thank you.
This is why we have these public hearings.
Well, that's
Thank-
why we came.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Comments for those of the applicant or for the testifiers? Logan, you have something to contribute?
Nothing here.
Thank you, Logan. Honey? No. Pete?
Maybe ask if anybody wants to raise their hand on the web.
That's right. Anything else? Anybody? Nobody? Did you see a raised hand earlier?
No,
You
I'm
just,
sure they know they can.
yeah, thanks for the prompt. I get lost sometimes. I appreciate that. Scott, just, well,
Perhaps only to,
I'll close public testimony,
yes, thank you.
without objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Perhaps to give some comfort to our audience, again, this is a first stage that asks the developer to provide new and more information to help change our analysis going forward and bring that back to you. So some of the things that we've heard today, we will be, we have our notes and we will be looking at them to be able to provide answers to the public in the future.
Okay, thank you. So noted. Chair will entertain the motion to the effect.
Mr. Chairman, a suggested motion would be the Planning Commission recommends that the Board of County Commissioners initiate CPA 0222.
So moved by P. Rayner, second by Lonnie Edwards. Discussion on that motion, please. Logan, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably the one that I have most hesitation about of the slate today. Because I am, strongly toward a more formalized joint planning agreement between the city and the county, and I appreciate Director Chesney's work on that. And so that's my hesitation, that we still don't really have that formulated yet and aren't doing that yet. But if City Planning Director Spencer Gardner doesn't have a problem with it, that makes me feel good. And it's the development agreement that gives me the additional looking for the right word here, but comfort that I need to at least move forward with initiation. I'd be really interested to see more details of the development agreement as we move forward, but I think that that's the critical element here to making this work, and maybe a place where it's a little more difficult. And so I am going to be supporting this in this case, but this will be one I'll be looking hard at in the fall, and we'll have some more questions I want to see answered.
Thank you, Logan. Any further comments?
I want to echo what Logan's comments. I think it's time, and we're here, that we're working with the city, and I think that's a positive step for everybody. And I'm going to support it because of it.
Okay, the discussion, no more. We're ready for the vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by saying nay. That motion passes. Thank you very much, Chesney. Mr. Chesney, you have some follow-up comments?
One
We'll go with
last
the minutes
thing,
next.
if we can get our map back up, please.
Okay.
We just wanted to bring this to your attention. Earlier, when we were going through our workshops, CPA 0722 had initially requested reconsideration. It had been continued by the board in 2022, and this group recommended against the amendment in 2022. The applicant has formally withdrawn the application from the process from this year, and they are looking forward to more of an analysis of the industrial areas as part of the 2026 comprehensive plan. But this has been formally withdrawn, so it is taken off the table. And no vote is necessary.
Thank you. Any other further?
That's it. We're done.
Okay, thank you very much. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes for February the 15th. Minutes have been provided to you in your packet and online. Do we have any comments, additions, adjustments, clarifications of those minutes? If not, the chair will entertain a motion to adopt actually those minutes.
So moved.
You'll need to
I
abstain.
reviewed the minutes and I move to adopt them.
Thank you, Logan. We'll make you the second. Second by Pete. Seeing that, calls for immediate vote. All those in favor of adopting the minutes of February the 15th, signify by saying aye.
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 Those minutes are adopted. Thank you. Next order of business, the next meeting is March the 28th, and I will defer to Mr. Chesney on any additional comments regarding our commission activity.
We will take some time to explore the early stages of Comp Plan 26, the update. And we will also be back to talk through a workshop session on our zoning text amendments for custom meat processing and for the gun club. Those are both moving through the system, and we will bring those here for your thoughts and comments.
All right.
28th.
Yes. Oh, and I'm sorry. March 28th.
Yeah.
We have, we're anticipating the public participation program coming to you for a public hearing. And that will be a chance to, again, look at that. That will set the public interaction roadmap for us with the community for the next 2.5 years.
Okay, here we go. That concludes everything.
That's it. Thank
Commissioners
you.
have anything to add to the mix?
Yeah, if I could just, for the good of the order, or yeah, I think good of the order. Staff had forwarded us a sort of a code complaint, and I'm just looking for a little bit more clarity. What, first of all, why did it get forwarded to us? Like, what is our role in that as planning commissioners? And then secondarily, what is like next steps on that individual's concerns? What happened?
Thank you, Logan. I had neglected to bring that back. Code complaints are not part of the Planning Commission's portfolio and you have no influence or no responsibility for them. It would be as if someone simply wanted to talk about something on the open agenda that was not on your normal agenda. It is being handled through our code compliance group. The commissioners are aware of it. The CEO is aware of it. And we're trying to pursue a resolution in that direction. It's a individual who is unhappy about encroachments from a manufactured housing facility adjacent to his property. But the Planning Commission has no role whatsoever in that. So it is off your plate.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
And Logan, thanks for joining us late in the game here too.
Yes, sorry to miss the first few minutes.
We appreciate Logan and for Melissa having joined us for her period of time. Thanks everyone for their participation. Thank you, Jessica Pilgrim, for answering our questions. Thanks for being here. And thanks staff. And those are all the new planners back there. And we want to give a big shout out to the great work that they're doing as well. A lot of heavy lifting coming up, guys. So here we go.
Oh, could I ask one more good of the order question? Who
exactly?
Go ahead. Which commissioner is no longer with us? That was I know we have a new commissioner. I'm sorry I'm not there to meet you today, but I'm curious who is no longer with us.
Lonnie Edwards, you want to have a tutorial on who you are, where you're from, and that sort of stuff?
I live up in the Northeast District in Josh Kearns' area. So Alan Nolan took a spot on the Meade School Board District, and there's a few referrals from the home builders from Alan Nolan, and I'm a home builder here in Washington, Idaho, and Montana, and so they asked me to do this, and I'm grateful to be here because I'm grateful for my backyard, which is Spokane. So
welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Chair, have you had a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. We'll let you second this one, Logan. All those in favor of adjournments signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much. It is 12:10. Thank you, staff. Well done.
Have a good day, everyone. See you in a couple weeks.
Thanks, Ella.